Hello and good morning to those of you joining us from San Francisco, Los Angeles, Houston, Chicago, and New Orleans. Good afternoon to those in New York, DC, Boston, Atlanta, Miami, and good evening in Paris and beyond. From wherever you are joining us, welcome. I am Gaëtan Bruel, director of Villa Albertine, a new kind of cultural institution that aims to reinvent artist residencies across the US. 4 centuries ago, France opened the first artist residency of the modern era in Rome, the Villa Medici, which is still very active today. Based on this model, many residency programs have been built all over the world, including the American academies abroad. For decades, France has dreamed of opening a Villa Medici, a French academy in the US. And for months, we have been working hard to make this possible, not only in one city, but in 10 cities at once, the diversity of the US territory and the specific needs of creators and thinkers. Today, through this event, we are pleased to share the full list of the first 80 Villa Albertine residents with you. The inaugural season's residents will join us from France and across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. They will work with more than 60 cultural institutions on both sides of the Atlantic. And the second season is already in the works with a call for projects launched today and open for 3 months. But alongside Ambassador Philippe Étienne and our guest, beyond all of this, we wanted to share the conviction we hold that in a world in crisis, creators and thinkers should not just be supported, they can support us. They should play a role in helping us better understand the world we live in and imagining alternative ways to inhabit it. An organization with a nationwide presence for residencies, a think tank of a new kind, new media, a transatlantic community fostering a new alliance between arts and ideas, Villa Albertine offers something for all, which we invite you to discover. I'm now happy to introduce our guide for this kickoff journey through Villa Albertine's universe, the New York Times critic Laura Cappelle, to present our first panel of speakers.
Thank you, Gaëtan. Hello and a warm welcome to you all, wherever you are joining us from today. I am thrilled to be with you to help introduce Villa Albertine to the world. In this first part of today's launch event, a panel of distinguished guests and supporters of Villa Albertine will discuss the reasons why artist residencies matter rather greatly at this point in time, and why France is expanding its existing network, as Gaëtan mentioned, to bring residencies to the United States. You will hear from the Ambassador of France to the United States, Philippe Étienne, then from Kaewyn Feldman, as well as Mamadou-Abou and Catherine Sarr. First, allow me to introduce Philippe Étienne, who is the Ambassador of France to the United States, as I mentioned, and the chairman of Villa Albertine. Ambassador, thank you for being with us. If I may ask to start, why is France creating Villa Albertine now, and what were the chief goals of this project?
Thank you very much, Laura. And as my last few weeks were challenging as Ambassador of France to the US, and when I prepared my participation to this panel, I reflected and I thought that our traditional alliance and strategic partnerships are tested by the world as it is moving, and it becomes increasingly important to strengthen and reaffirm our shared values, but also to renew our conversation with new approaches. The French-American friendship has always relied on the free flow of ideas and inspiration. And today we celebrate indeed an exciting new chapter in this ongoing dialogue with the launch of Villa Albertine. 350 years after the founding of the French Academy in Rome at the Villa Medici, the first modern artist residency, which is still very active today, A century after the opening of the Casa de Velázquez in Madrid, and 30 years after that of the Villa Kujoyama in Kyoto, France is indeed launching its fourth villa, Villa Albertine, in the United States, welcoming creators and thinkers from France, but also from Africa and the Middle East, to the American landscape. Villa Albertine aims to renew our cultural ties. It will foster a dynamic dialogue around a new generation of creative and intellectual figures coming from France and across the globe. Its annual cohort of residents will also contribute, through their American experience, to transforming the cultural landscape in France. Each country has its own challenges to face. We are convinced that we can here to be stronger together, and that Villa Albertine will be a positive agent of change. The first cultural institution created by France since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, Villa Albertine is born of the conviction that in a world in crisis, creators and thinkers have a primary role to play in repairing the traumas of the present and preparing us for the new and urgent challenges of our future. It will invite the most promising figures of a new generation of artists and thinkers to explore intersections between culture and the urgent questions of our time. By offering residencies that respond to the individual needs and ambitions of creators, Villa Albertine will transform creative residencies into opportunities for exploration, accelerators of discovery, and incubators for new lines of inquiry. It aims not only to renew French-American cultural exchange and to provide a platform for creators, it further aims to offer a new philosophy and model for artistic residencies more broadly. Until today, those residencies have followed a similar format by gathering artists in a single location. Villa Albertine aims to do just the opposite. Rather than meeting in a single place, in a single city, residents will be able to choose the format and location of their residency, adapting it to their needs and embedding themselves within their host communities. In this way, we hope to build a new cultural network which responds to the true needs and ambitions of today's artists and thinkers. This new mode of international exchange is, of course, especially important today with the dramatic changes in our world. And we are convinced, this new mode of international exchange has the potential to transform society and to transform our relations in the very best direction. And we invite you to join us in this adventure. Thank you.
Ambassador, thank you so much for this introduction. And now we will welcome Kaewyn Feldman, who is the director of the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. Kaewyn, if I may, thank you for being here with us. I believe you're closely involved in this inaugural season of Villa Albertine, since the National Gallery of Art will act as a host institution. What would you say are some of the advantages of inviting artists to be in residence within the walls of museums?
Thank you, Laura. And I also want to thank the ambassador for the kind invitation to be with you today. I'm really delighted to be here. I'd like to begin with a story, actually, about my middle school French teacher, Mademoiselle Trimbach. I think of her now as long-suffering, and it was because she was always battling grumpy and distracted teenagers and her desire to spark a love affair with France in each of us. She taught us that you can't just learn a language. You must also know about the art, history, and culture of a people. And that in doing so, we learn more about ourselves as well as others. And every year, Mademoiselle Trimbach brought us to the National Gallery of Art to study French painting. So she literally and figuratively showed me my future path. But I'm going to cut to the chase and answer your question. I'm a big fan of international artist residencies, having worked with many of them over the years. they achieve significant things in addition to producing stimulating works of art. They help us get closer to people who do not necessarily share our background, life experiences, or culture. As Equal Justice Initiative founder Brian Stevenson likes to say, we must get proximate to people who are different in order to really know them. And of course, we learn and grow in the process and often become more empathic. Of course, they also stimulate new artistic practice, from the technical knowledge to the more inspired and philosophical skills. They lead to long-term and lasting partnerships, initiatives, and friendships among individuals as well as institutions. Residencies also offer a way to engage the public in new ways and new worlds, and to have different conversations. And finally, these residencies are a gift to the artists and the people they encounter. And couldn't we all use more human-centered gifts in our lives, especially after the last 18 months? I have to say that I admire the vision of this countrywide residency program, which recognizes that sometimes a single place just isn't enough. I have to say it's also very French. Alexis de Tocqueville knew that he couldn't understand America from just one place and spent 9 months traversing North America, from Quebec to New Orleans and Massachusetts to Memphis, the sort of French road trip. So thank you for the honor of being a part of the day.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. Now we will go to two prominent supporters of the arts internationally, Catherine and Mamadou-Abou, who came on board to contribute to the development of Villa Albertine. Catherine and Mamadou, thank you for being here. Perhaps one question to start. Why would you say supporting creative residencies of the kind Villa Albertine is offering is important at this moment in time?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having us, and what an honor and pleasure to share the panel with Mr. Ambassador, and also share our vision around why we think it is important to support. In our civic engagement, we always felt that as art aficionado, we had to go above and beyond collecting arts. We always felt that supporting artists, human being to human being, engaging in conversation, fostering exchanges is actually a recipe for a remedy of societal issues across the board. And when we had an opportunity to support, we felt that what an amazing story for us who were born and raised in France, left a long time ago, but always with that nostalgia of what we left, but also the desire to integrate in America and connect the dots along the way. And so we think that the residency program are actually a gift for artists, they are a gift for communities, they are a gift for the society, as we think that through exchanges, impact can get compounded. And so for us, seeing that reality kind of shaping into a real impact is something that we wanted to be part of at the beginning of that initiative. And we look forward to discovering all these artists from places to places across the US and coming back to France, and also creating that two-way bridge where exchanges can impact us all across. And so I'll let Catherine share a few words around that, but that's how we felt compelled to support and be part of that inaugurative season.
Thank you. Thank you for having us today with you, Mr. Ambassador, and Kaewyn as well. For us, residencies are very important. Before the COVID, we used to have events here in our home where we will welcome artists from France and connect them with institutions and curators. And I recall one artist who came after graduation asked one of the curators, as he was looking for a gallery, what should I do now that what is the most important thing that I should do now that I've graduated and I'm ready for the world? And that curator said, I have 3 advice for you. It's residency, residency, and residency. The best advice for them was to really take the time to reflect on their practice and what they wanted to tell the world. And that has inspired us when we created the prize with Les Beaux-Arts Art School for the laureate to come to the US for residency, residency where this artist, after graduation, will have time to reflect on his future practice. So residency in the type that Villa Albertine is creating is, I think, is going to be a game changer, and it's going to be very important for artists and have the time to reflect on their practice.
Catherine and Mamadou, thank you so much. Now, perhaps one more question for all of our panelists from the first part of this launch. I'm sure some of you have been in touch with some residents, have followed behind the scenes the development of Villa Albertine. Can you perhaps share, if you're willing, what you are most curious and excited to see this coming year as far as the inaugural season is concerned?
Maybe I can start, because actually we have started already in one city, in San Francisco, and I was part of the launch of the Villa San Francisco, which is now Villa Albertine in San Francisco. And I can testify here. I've been a witness. Of course, COVID-19 made it difficult for French artists to come to San Francisco, and not only COVID-19, but if I may say so, to my American friends, the travel ban, which now be lifted on November 8th, which has been a big issue for exchanges, including cultural exchanges. So the Villa San Francisco was used for an incredible richness of exchanges between local communities and our cultural services and consulate general. And also, of course, with the participation of creators and artists, both in California and in France, and it has given a big optimism to me for the launch of the whole of the project. And I'm really excited by the mix which has been found for this first cohort. And by the way, the good news is that we have an excellent cooperation with the American Embassy and Consulate General in Paris in spite of difficulties which could remain for the access to the American territory. We under the control of Gaëtan, we have a good prospect of bringing the artists and thinkers to the US. And I'm really excited to see this mix. And also, for instance, in Washington, with the help of Kaewyn and other cultural institutions of the federal capital, how we can work on the work of what does it mean to have these powerful cultural institutions like the National Gallery to promote this kind of exchanges through, as Kaewyn said, the real powerful instrument, which are residencies. Also in terms of working on helping us to work on what we call in French cultural policies for the future. And I'm so really excited also because I've been in all the cities, and from Houston to Chicago, from Boston to Los Angeles, and I'm really interested and very optimistic.
Thank you, Ambassador. Does anyone perhaps want to say a few words or react?
Sure, I can certainly relate to our excitement when we saw the list of artists, the plethora of practices, from visual arts to writers, thinkers, and dancers, and so on. And for us, seeing that plethora of practices being kind of played out across the board, we felt was actually very compelling. And it's pretty unusual that you could actually cross across the arts, kind of mingle in a way and exchange. What I'm expecting is that with the residency program across the US, I'm also expecting artists to create their own respective networks and engage along the way, which may lead to new practices, may lead to new pieces of art, may lead to other collaborations, right? And so that's the part why we're excited to see what will be coming out of that within the whole network of artists themselves, and how they interact and develop that network and foster it in the years to come.
Wonderful. Unless someone wants to add anything, I want to thank again all of our panelists for being here for this first half of the launch events. This concludes our first panel. Thank you for being with us. And now we will move on to the second part of the launch events, in which you will get to meet some of the residents for this upcoming year. Now, the list is long and varied, from choreographers such as François Chéniaud and the collective Liatard to the prominent historian Philippe Boucheron. Visual artists, filmmakers, writers, and scholars will all travel to the United States to take a presidency in a range of cities. Now, some of them will now talk about their current work and their hopes for their residency. But first of all, we welcome back Gaëtan Bruel, the director of Villa Albertine. Gaëtan, if you can hear me. Hello again.
Yes.
Gaëtan, could you give us an overview, perhaps, of this very first season, this new year, and talk about the breadth of disciplines and backgrounds that will be represented in partnership with a range of cultural institutions?
Yes, Laura, with great pleasure. Perhaps I could say that this inaugural season is an attempt to put 80 residents, 80 creators, thinkers, and cultural leaders, such as museum directors, on the road across America. Some of them will visit several cities, while others will be in residency on board a train, going coast to coast, or on a boat along the Mississippi, like Nicola Flock. But I will let the residents themselves tell us more about their projects. Perhaps to answer briefly your question, who are these residents globally, and also how have we selected them? I would say that these 80 residents, men and women in equal measure, first, they range in age from 22 to 65. The majority are French, but others come from numerous regions of the world. They work across disciplines, and they are choreographers, novelists, museum directors, designers, historians, graphic novelists, art historians, astronomers, composers, journalists, orchestra conductors, festival directors, filmmakers, architects, visual artists, and sorry for those I have forgotten to mention here. To select them, we invited 40 French cultural institutions and organizations, among the most influential and innovative, to co-curate this first season, to help us identify 80 residents who have been chosen for the diversity of their profile, the strengths of their artistic or intellectual approaches, and the relevance, of course, of the residency projects we developed together. In this endeavor, alongside our French partners, who included Fondations Bettencourt-Schuller and Art Explora, Centre Pompidou, Palais de Tokyo, Atelier Médicis, Philharmonie de Paris, among many others, the list is long, we were also lucky to be joined by many American partners, from National Gallery to MIT, from Lincoln Center to the New Orleans Jazz Museum, just to name a few. And perhaps, if I may, one last word to say that while the first season was curated, the second, the third, and beyond will select residents through a call for projects. The season 2 call for project was released today, and you have 3 months to apply for residency in 2023. All criteria are online on villa-albertine.org, as well as all more information on our current residents and their extraordinary projects all over the US.
Thank you so much, Gaëtan. And now let's get a taste of what our residents will be up to this coming year, with a selection of them who will be speaking about their projects. First of all, we welcome Nicolas Flock, who is a photographer and plastic artist. Nicolas, thank you so much for being here. I believe you are going to be in New Orleans for your project, and it will have something to do with water. If you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. And just before to introduce the project, I must say how important I think is this kind of residency with a different way of working for artists, because I believe that today, as I do, many artists are not working only in the studio, but in many places and exploring territories. And it's, I think it's important to explore the world today and to represent it differently. And this kind of residency permits this kind of project to exist. The second aspect, I think, is that to be able to work with structure in France, for example, for me, I'm working with the Camargo Foundation in Cassis. I'm working with this institution since 3 years, and it's a prolongation of the residency, and it permits to work in a very long-term process. That's very important. And after to come to the project and to what I will do in the territory, I will work, I will say, on ocean, mainly on ocean, but not from the ocean, from the land. And I will work on the Mississippi and all the hydrographic territory of the Mississippi. This means that I will work on a territory from Minnesota to Louisiana, from the West Mountain to the East Mountain, and it's a third of the territory. And I will work on the color of water, but not from outside the water, from inside the water, exploring how this color gave us indication on how these rivers are fertilizing the ocean, but also today transforming it, obviously, with many anthropic aspects. And within the color of water, you can read many things of the territory. And this color and this water carry many aspects of the inside territory of United States. So I will explore the territory with, in a way, a very abstract way, with this picture inside water, which are only color, but which reveal many realities of the country. So that's a simple introduction of the project, and I will start in January in United States.
Nicolas, thank you so much for taking us through it. And now we're going to welcome a choreographer, Nassera Belaza, who is going to be taking up a nomadic residency, which I believe will start in New York, but then will travel further into the United States. So Nassera, can you tell us, first of all, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about what you plan to do during this residency?
Hello, everybody. I would call maybe this residency, I have no plan. This is the purpose of this residency, actually. But I wrote a few lines I'm going to read for you, maybe. First of all, I would like, as you said, to say that I'm extremely flattered to be among you. Indeed, the opportunity to do a residency across the United States is not less than a dream come true for me. To have the opportunity to take the time to waste it, to not count it, is an extremely precious thing. Artist who runs a company and whose every day is counted. I've dreamed about creating spaces of emptiness from which my creation are nourished. So this residency, which I would describe as tailor-made, meets my expectation and aspiration in every way, and gives me the opportunity to keep moving while withdrawing as much as possible from society. I only know that I will take a plane November 23rd, but nothing more. And this vertigo is for me a new experience, which I am sure will give me a new breath. Especially important as it will take place after 2 years of exhausting restrictions. For this, I would like to thank a few people. First of all, Nicole Bierman and Laura Cappelle, who knew how to listen to the necessity for an artist to have time to draw, to better catch his breath. I also thank Hortense Archambault, director of the MC93 in Bobigny in Paris, precious companion who will be also partner of this exciting adventure. And finally, Gaëtan Bruel, who offers us, through the creation of Villa Albertine, an invaluable thing, which is time, because very often we are enjoying to be productive, forgetting that to create, we must all, in our way, take this invisible but necessary time of the inspiration. So for me, it's about time, about having no plans, about traveling, about moving, keeping myself in movement. And go back to my work with this new space, I hope, and new inspiration. Thank you for all this.
Thank you. I think many of us will look forward to hearing what this journey brings once you get started. And now we will give the floor to a duo of artists who have actually already landed in the United States. I'm welcoming now Fanny Liatard and Jérémy Trouilh, who will be shooting their second feature film in New York. Fanny and Jérémy, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. We are so happy to be here with you to present ourselves. We are a duo of filmmakers. We write and direct together. We've been working together for 7 years now. We shot our first feature film, Gagarine, in 2019 in a housing project in the suburbs of around Paris. It's been a fiction, but very grounded, that we wrote and made with the inhabitants of this place. And our second feature is very linked to the same process of creation that we're going to do with our producers, Julie Billy from June Film and Carole Scotta from Oecourt.
So the project of film we are developing here is called Still I Rise. And we started to write it some months ago, but today we can't tell a lot still about the story because it's an early stage. But what we can say is that the film will be rooted in a territory, will be inspired by a reality. And we talk about the strengths of a community. So we have a main character, who is a young woman, and she will have to learn how to unify a community, how to get stronger with the collective, facing an unique and dangerous phenomenon. So it's an early stage of the writing of the script now, but this is an idea we had some years ago, a sort of a reaction in front of a social and environmental emergency. And even though it is an universal issue, we want to root the film in a very local situation, territory.
So we just arrived 2 days ago, as you said, here in New York. We are hosted in a house in the 122nd Street in Harlem. And the 3 months in front of us are going to spend meeting the people, the neighbors on the houses around us, universitarians working on the issues we are interested with, architecture, history of communities, empowerment of the people living here in these neighborhoods. And of course, our idea is to create links with people here and local associations.
And to give you a little more details, what we usually do when we arrive in a place we don't know is that we try to find the right organization or association, and we organize film workshops with a group of here inhabitants. So and then during 1 or 2 weeks we are exchanging knowledge and sometimes make more documentary videos or fictional ones. But the important for us is really to get in touch with people and get to know them, to know their stories, and try to exchange skills and knowledge. And we just arrived, but for some months already we have been preparing our venue here, and we really wanted to thank the Festival d'Angers, Unifrance, and Adeline Monzier, Sandrine Neveu, and Valérie Mourou, because thanks to them, we already have thousands of contacts here, and we are starting to work, and we will enjoy each day here to develop our projects, and we feel really lucky.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much to all the creators and supporters of this Villa Albertine. It's an amazing opportunity for us at this early time of writing a feature to be able to be here. And we can't wait also to meet maybe the residents, all the fellow residents who will cross New York City. See you soon.
Exciting months ahead. Thank you both. And you're not the only ones, as you were saying, taking up residence in New York, either now or a little later in the year, because so will Constance Debré, a writer who is joining us now, our final panelist today. Hello, Constance. Hi, Constance. I believe you'll be going in search of the counterculture in New York. Can you tell us a little about your project for the Villa?
Yes, sure. But first of all, I want to say how great it is for writers to be invited in such programs, because writing is a very specific artistic activity, which could be very isolated and isolating. So the opportunity to break this isolation and to come in the US and in New York, when the US literature is so important for us. And I've been fed with American literature. So it's something great to not only to read books, but to be in this environment, in this culture, and to meet American writers and other cultural actors is something really very, very important. So I would say my project is, first of all, to be in this environment, and I have no doubt that it will inspire, and probably that, and I'm sure that the time spent in New York will end in a book, in a way or another. But aside from that, I have another project, which is to carry out a series of portraits or interviews. French newspaper of figures of the counterculture, whether the very actual counterculture, and I don't know exactly who are those figures in New York now. That's why I'm gonna figure out, and or the well-known classical counterculture that we know already. So, but I'm thrilled to come. That's I mean, it's something really great, and I can't wait for it. And I don't know yet what it's gonna be, but I can't wait. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Constance, and thank you to all our panelists for being back on screen now. I'm going to ask you a question now, and feel free to jump in if you're inspired. I was wondering, I know many of you have worked internationally, have traveled quite a bit, but I was wondering what you hope to gain from working in and absorbing at the same time an American environment. Any takers? Any response will be welcome.
For me, for example, if I will say that it's a very large territory, and to work in this, it's a very specific area to work within the center of United States, and with a river like Mississippi, which is carrying so many things, not only for people in United States, but it's all, obviously, we know that we are in a world where all is connected. And this massive hydrographic territory has a large influence as American culture in the world. And I think it's quite a symbolic territory, and for me, it's a very interesting space to explore. And we could. I think we can all talk hours saying why this territory can be fundamental in our respective works.
Thank you, Nicola. Any reactions, perhaps? Yes. Go ahead, Fanny.
Yeah, just to say that for us, we've been working for years on how the city of Paris, but other big cities in France, are transforming in terms of urban planning and how the people live this transformation. And arriving in New York, it's another scale of how the gentrification is going on here, how the communities are struggling with this fact, and we are so interested in changing our point of view on this type of urban questions and human solutions to live together well.
Now, I feel like a residency is also a break for daily life, for a break from daily life, in many ways, that you get time away from the environment that you're used to. And I wondered if perhaps some of you could speak to how valuable that is to your creation process and to your life as an artist, to have that time away from home.
I would say that, it's the perfect, of course, perfect occasion to step out of your life, step out of your habits, the way you function, the people you know. And for me, it's really interesting to be connected to a kind of unknown space. The less I know, the more I can maybe move, or I can step out of my habits in a way. So being out of my life is really crucial for me. I no longer recognize anything that I do during the day like I do it in my life. And this is the starting point for me to be open to something else. So going out. And I would say also about this residency that it wouldn't be possible to do this kind of residency in another country, maybe Australia, but not, for example, in France. I need the country to be big, to be, in a way, infinite, to be, that gives me the possibility to cross many places, many different landscapes, different natures. And for this, America, I think it's the most perfect place to get lost in this kind of field here.
Thank you, Nassera. Yes, of course, go ahead.
No, maybe just to add an obvious element is that we've been, most of us, locked down for months, even years almost, during the last 2 years. And to be able to not only invent stories in our head, but confront with the real world, and a real world that we are not used to in our daily life. It awakens our hearts, our ears, our eyes, and our willing of telling new stories. So, of course, being able to come here after these difficult times is even more especially precious for us.
Now, I know some of you mentioned the possibility of crossing paths with other artists. Of course, some of you will be in different cities and perhaps at different times, or at least you know now who all the residents are going to be. And I wondered, Constance, because you mentioned how isolated writing can be, how valuable that is to you in a way to be able to meet other residents, or perhaps to cross paths with people who work in entirely different kind of disciplines?
Yes, absolutely. you know, I write about the present and in an auto-fictional way. So what's it's all about is about putting events of my life in another way, but putting events of my life in sentences. So I need to be fed by interesting events and interesting people, and changing this environment and meeting people not only from another country and especially the US. And as I said, it's a very culture for me, but also from other artistic fields. And is going to be a great opportunity, because that's the way it is. It's probably going to be much more easy to meet other artists in New York for me than in Paris. So that's one of the goal for me. Absolutely.
Thank you. And now a lighthearted question to conclude, if I may. You all already speak excellent English, but of course, being in a different country all day long is a different, you are sort of, let's say, full-time. You're speaking the language full-time, and that can be tiring on a daily basis. Are you looking forward to that? And how do you think you'll feel about that?
I can.
Yeah, you're already in New York, so you can speak to that, Fanny.
Yeah, and it's been 2 days, and I don't think we speak so well English, but we are already in a movie here. Like, we go out in the street, and it's like people is singing around us, and no, of course it's so exciting for us to work in another language, and we hope in 3 months when we come back to France, we are fluent, and and no, it's a really amazing point of the residency, of course.
Personally,
Yes,
if I
Nassera.
can, I speak better English in live than on Zoom. This is clear for me, because I realize that using my body, my energy to speak makes me think more fluidly, makes me get the energy of the language more easily. So I just wanted to mention this, because the Zoom here, it's not that easy for all of us, I think.
Yes, at least you all have the joy of seeing people in movement while speaking English very soon, or now already. All right. Well, thank you so much to all of you for being with us here today to talk about your projects and what it will be like to be a resident of Villa Albertine. Now, this concludes our second panel and also our launch event for today. Thank you all so much, all of you watching, for joining. I hope our speakers gave you an overview of what Villa Albertine has in store and what it will offer residents in the United States going forward. If you'd like to learn more, please go to villa-albertine.org. The website is live as of now, and so is the call for applications for the second season of Villa Albertine. So perhaps some of you will be part of that next intake from next year. In the meantime, I'm sure you'll join me in wishing all the residents an inspiring and creative time in the United States. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about their projects over the next year. And I want to thank also Gaëtan Bruel, the director of Villa Albertine, who was also our host today, our panelists, and all the partners making Villa Albertine possible. Thank you, and speak to you soon.